Now, it's certainly not a coffee table book, but the artist Mark Neville wants his photographic chronicle of Corby to be discussed in the boardrooms of councils across Britain. He spent a year photographing the former steel town and its residents, among them children with birth defects caused by environmental pollution in the area. Katie Razzle joined him in Corby to find out whether this kind of art can make a difference in the real world.
There's not much left of Corby's famous steel mills. The town was built on steel production. But by the 80s, most of the steelworks had shut down. They continued to have an impact for far longer than anyone could have imagined.
The fascinating thing about Corby is wave upon wave of Scottish people moved here at the turn of the last century looking for work in the steel mills.
The artist Mark Neville spent a year photographing the town. The images are being exhibited at the Photographers Gallery in London, and there's a book.
The Phoenix pub was built around the time of the closure of the steel mills, and I guess the idea was that it would be a phoenix rising from the ashes of the closure.
Something more toxic rose from the ashes, though, and that story is at the heart of Mark Neville's photographs, because the clean-up of the steelworks left a terrible legacy, birth defects in some of Corby's youngsters.
The idea was to intersperse pictures of some of the children born with birth defects with other members of the community and investigate this whole idea of what body image might be in Corby, the whole idea of beauty, how beauty might be manifested in Corby.
By 9:59.
It's bingo night at Corby's Grampian Club, and there's a definite whiff of Scotland in the air. Annie Brazier moved to Corby decades ago when her husband got a job in the steelworks.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about beauty, basically.
Oh, that's lovely.
Isn't that cool?
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it?
Mark Neville's book of photographs went down well here, where everyone remembers the steel mills and the clouds of red dust that coated the town.
Did it ever occur to you that it might be harmful?
Oh, no, I didn't really think it, no.
Were you ever worried about it?
Didn't have any concern about it because it was been brought up with it all the time.
But 4 years ago came a landmark judgment. The council paid out compensation to a group of Corby youngsters born with nearly identical hand and feet abnormalities. They'd been affected by toxic waste following the reclamation of the defunct steelworks.
What happened was that the council wanted to reclaim the land, dug all that material up. It was still as toxic as it had been when it was buried 30, 40 years previously, put it into open trucks, drove those trucks around the town, and if you were a pregnant mother wheeling your pram or whatever, and the dust blew in your face, there was a distinct possibility that you would have a problem.
Turning that story into art, Mark Neville used high-speed film equipment to take a series of triptychs to illustrate what happened.
The balloon burst was a kind of metaphor for the whole court case. It was this idea that we can't really see these pollutants acting on people. All we can see is the result, which is a birth defect. So the whole idea about high-speed photography is it's allowing you to see something that normally the naked eye can't perceive. And that's really what the whole court case was about. It was about proving or saying it's more likely than not that these birth defects were caused by this improper land reclamation.
Ben Vissian's mother most likely inhaled toxic particles on her way to work in Corby's job centre. He was born 15 years ago with abnormalities to both hands.
I'll tell you the reason why I thought this would be a good idea to photograph with you, Ben, was because the other images I'd seen taken by journalists during the court case had asked the kids involved in the court case to either hold up their hand like this, so it became a kind of medical photograph, almost disconnected from the rest of your body, or hide the hand behind the back and conceal it.
Yeah, I like it because it's just doing something natural, so it's not just a picture of your hand or something like that.
Rather than being exploitative, Mark Neville says he tries to harness photography for social ends. The book of these photographs also contains pages and pages of scientific and legal detail about the Corby case. It's not on sale. Instead, the artist sent it to each of the UK's 433 local authorities to raise awareness about handling toxic waste and the reuse of contaminated land. But are they paying attention?
Of course, it's very difficult to prove if you have a son or daughter born with a birth defect that it's actually directly related to a contaminated site. It's a time bomb waiting to happen, so no one really knows how these cocktails of chemicals work when they're released into the atmosphere.
It will happen again, it's bound to happen again, and I think Mark's book will hopefully be almost an everlasting testimony to why it shouldn't, that cases like this should not need to be fought again. And I think that's important, because it's very important that the memories of those mothers, of those children, and indeed of the town, are not simply forgotten.